Sweet. Sometimes I forget, like, I think you do it plenty, but I forget sometimes when I have guests on that, like, they don't necessarily do live streams all the time, but you may wanna, like, give people more details for what we're actually doing.
We're just hanging out, talking
I
on
know.
camera.
Yeah.
It's funny because I feel like I host so often. I have this whole thing where I'm like, "Oh, this is different. Why is it wrong?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, wait, I don't get all the controls." That's right.
Yep. And then you feel like I've said this with other people. I don't know if it's you or I feel like Alex Stross and I talked about this, like, because we're so used to hosting, then when we get on other people's channels, we still feel like we're a host and, like like, navigate the
Yeah,
conversation to, like,
yeah,
move things along and stuff.
yeah, exactly. I
It's
have a bad habit of that.
all in good fun, though. Actually, while we're kinda letting people join, I am gonna share my screen and then see if there's anything obvious that you think I'm missing. So I wanna move right now, I wanna move from the app directory, the experimental app directory in Next.js to the pages directory. So still in my next config, there's
Yeah,
app
so
directory
take that out.
true.
So take and comment that out.
Comment that out or just set it to false either way.
Yeah, yeah, I think either way.
Cool. Now I gotta restart.
I've found I actually stopped the, like, serving side of this. And I've actually gotten to the point where I actually removed the .next, directory, so it
Hmm.
just I
Okay.
don't know why, but I just, like to clean it,
Yeah.
and then I start the thing over.
Okay. Owner type
Well, see,
on
that's
YouTube.
interesting,
What's up?
though.
And
That just
Diamond.
That just
All right, go
popped
ahead.
up, the app directory is experimental still, so oh, it's because you have an app directory still.
Oh, maybe.
Interesting. Okay.
Should so I
Yeah.
don't need this. Don't need actually I don't
You
think I
could
need
just
this.
stash everything too if you wanna come back to it.
Yeah, I don't know if I've like done I'm not at a clean point anyway,
Okay.
unfortunately, because
Alright.
I'm not get prepared for this stuff.
It's all good.
um and then the layout TSX. So I won't use a layout file inside of pages directory, right? Like that would be the app
Yeah.
TSX is
Yeah, app or, like, I usually just use just a regular component to wrap stuff. But yeah,
yeah.
the true layout, not needed.
So going
I should have
to
probably asked, is this for your, James Q. Quick site?
no, it's just a kind of a
Playing around?
side project thingy. Yeah.
If you ever need that
Uh,
DevRel social domain, let me know.
DevRel. Oh yeah,
We haven't been working on it at all.
I know, right? This should be that and that. Cool. So this would be my Dr. Aram on YouTube. What's up? What's up? So this would be the app underscore app TSX, and then index TSX should be this. Parasocial Next.js, does Astro know what you're doing on the side? That's a great comment. That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm not an exclusive thing, but am spending a ton of time. I actually haven't spent time with Next.js in a while, which is part of why I'm having to figure this part out. Which it looks like it keeps redirecting me to 3001, even though this should be running on 3000. What is this
Or
saying?
do you have 2 instances floating around or no?
I don't think so. At some point, my computer thought there was something running at 3000,
Yeah, that's been 3000.
and it was running this at 3001, but it says 3000. What is this complaining about? Default function. What's the appropriate
Oh,
way? Sorry.
that return statement looked something was oh, maybe not.
Page props to the component.
Are you importing those? Why is it complaining about component?
Which part?
The squiggly under component and page props.
Because I'm in TypeScript and I don't have.
Okay, I gotcha. Took me a minute.
Yeah, I'll come back to that. Actually, not gonna have.
I should probably just open up Coding Cat and I can answer most of these questions for you.
Yeah, if you have like I just want like the starter app code.
Yeah, so usually I end up, if I'm starting from scratch, I just run their npx command. But
To
I don't
generate
know.
a new project.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's what I did.
and then there's a one command to install Tailwind as well.
So the only thing, this is the same thing, right? All I did was change to not take any page
Yeah,
props,
yeah,
right?
good there. Your component is not passing page props through, which you want to do though.
Yeah, I ended up deleting them up here. See, this is stuff I don't want to waste my time on. I'm annoyed.
I think you're okay. It's just line 3 and 5 just need to get added. Yep. Yeah, I think you're fine. I can send you the typing too here in a sec. We're in the
But
we're in the middle of switching over to SvelteKit, so I gotta get on the right branch here.
oh, nice. That's cool. So I still like. I don't know why it's not loading. It's like
I
not
think
loading the page.
I think you added a one and removed a one. Can you try that again?
So say that to yeah. So like it's not making a request. Or wait. I don't know what I broke here.
Yeah, that's the one right there.
But it still says pending, which is weird.
Do you have a debugger on?
Like a breakpoint in here?
Yeah.
Not that I know of. By the way, a bunch of messages just came through. Christoph, what's up? Amina, hello. Co with Simon on Twitch. Yeah, so for what we're
Common
doing
JS.
here.
Good comment.
What was that?
I like the time to bring back Common JS world.
Love it. I'm gonna kill code and open it back up. Yeah, so a little bit of context. So what we're eventually going to get into is if I can get this back to just running, then I can show you the basic meme generator that I have, which is using just Cloudinary and image overlays, which I think is really cool. And then we're going to work on like integrating Appwrite into that to like save those things to database, let people share, etc. It does say port 3000 is in use, which I would like to kill. How ls I forget
Yeah,
how to
I
do
always have to look it
EFL
up.
grep 3000. Whatever. Kill port. Anybody know the command right offhand?
I always look it up.
I know. PS. Oh, PS. I did LS. That's why that didn't show up. Okay. Although that doesn't show anything running. Let me try parasocials. PS AXU. Rep node if it's a node process.
That could get scary. There's so many node things running on mine.
There are. Yeah, wow, that is scary. Oh gosh.
I'm surprised that first command did not find it. You're on Mac, right? Yeah, you're on Mac.
Mm-hmm. You need to exit VS Code probably first because it's running all the kill number 9 and the number. Yeah, I need the actual like process number.
Here's the one that I always use. So it's ls of
LSOF.
yep, all together usually, I think, but I
Okay.
could be wrong. And then -i
Dash
and
I.
then space TCP:3000. That's the one that I always use. And then kill whatever's on that.
Does one of these look right?
So arc's fine because it's debugging and established. That bottom one is my guess.
All right, we can just kill stuff and then see what happens. 83759.
Ooh, what's the kill -9? Is that like immediate?
Kill force. Yeah, it's like
Ah,
kill.
I've never used the force. I've used it in the GUI, but not on the
Mhm.
command line.
It still says
Yeah, you might want to kill both those though, like that
kill.
18701 as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 18701. Welcome to our learn how to kill ports.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was a demo during interview, you're hired. Mark says, oh boy, this should be a good stream. Yeah, we're off to a great start, which is super exciting. Glad
Oh,
everyone could
man.
make it here for all of this excitement. Okay, global
Ah,
CSS
sweet.
cannot be imported
It's coming
from
back.
files
We're good.
other than app. So not in here. And app, I guess is what they're saying. Did you say you had TypeScript typings handy for
I do.
this will be like React
Somewhat.
component or something?
You know what? Let me. I don't want to kill all my changes right now. Let me go out to our main.
If you have it handy.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, that's a good idea. Mark has an alias for killing ports and stuff. That's a good idea.
That is a really great idea. I'm constantly with the Firebase what is it called? Tools, whatever they're called. I have to kill them all the time. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I don't know what it is about the Java side of those, but
so here's
emulator is the word I'm looking for.
I need to fix the way this thing stretches. But here it is. So this is up at least, and then I can show how to kill at a port. Hey, look, it works. So this is the meme generator, and it's literally just Cloudinary overlay. So just take the text and overlay it on top. There's a little bit of like debouncing logic in here because what I didn't want is like every character press to then be trying to load a new image. So I do a little bit of debouncing. You'll see the loading stuff shows, and it has a time. It doesn't actually load the image until a certain amount of time after the user stops typing. So it's basic. Like there's packages that do a fancier version of that, but it does a little bit of debouncing and then overlays the text. And then want to go from here, and I want to be able to give the user like a save and then have like a list of these somewhere. And I always like, I don't know if you go through this, but like for demo stuff like this, it would be really easy for someone to save one that's like really inappropriate unless you have logic around it and then have that displayed. Do you have any like what I do is I usually have like a manual review process when people upload images or anything like that. Do you do anything specific to help?
The only thing that I've ever done in the past is Google has an API for inappropriate words. Microsoft has a decent one too. So you can flag, and it's like you set up parameters where you get it pretty close to what you're happy with. But that would only help the text. Are you allowing images to be uploaded too?
Not images uploaded. So there's just there's a certain amount of these images.
Okay.
And they can kind of scroll through them.
That's kind of fun. Yeah. So I would say from a text standpoint, yeah, there's a couple different APIs that you could run through for safety.
Okay, that's a good idea. I thought about that, and I've never actually done it.
I shot you the type safe in the private chat. If you want me to use Discord, let me know. I'll switch to
that. That'd probably be easier just for
let me do that.
Formatting. By the way, someone commented, I think it was Christoph, that I'm using Arc browser, and I've been using this now for a few days, and I like it so far. There's nothing like game changing where I feel like I would have to have it, but I've gotten comfortable with it so far, at least. Is that something you use?
I actually don't use Arc browser. No. Okay. I think you sent out a video last week on it. Something like that?
No, that was actually Polypane, which is a totally different thing. There's so many things.
I know someone else was. You probably don't need that last JSX element piece. Just FYI, that was a thing I learned finally. So
okay, so just good without it.
Yep.
Cool. Well, the important part is that this part works.
Yeah.
Christoph was helping out too. So. Defining app props, then you destructure that from app props. So the props coming in for app is aptly named app props. Yeah. Code assignment is still in IE. No judgments, please. For some reason, I don't believe you. I'm not certain about that.
I looked at Christoph's picture like 3 times. I thought it was Nick from Dev2.
Oh, really? Yeah. I could see that. BS on YouTube using Next.js OG image generator on the edge to generate meme. No. So this is actually using, and I don't think I've given you this context yet, Alex. Next, Cloudinary. It's a package that Colby Fayoc created. And so what this does, it actually uses the next image component underneath the hood, but this allows you to like pass in overlays and things like you would with Cloudinary components. And it just translates that to use the Next.js image component underneath the hood.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
one
go
of the
ahead.
big differences there, so the Cloudinary image, they use kind of that URL-based caching scheme for that
Mhm,
CLD image, whereas the next image, you're getting full source sets and everything for all of your view widths. So it's kind of a combination of the two. And then
mhm.
the cool part on the, sorry if I'm going
No, go for it. You're good.
so the cool part on the Cloudinary side of things is you'll get all the optimizations from Cloudinary, both on the width and the quality that's coming in. You can also do the type. So like Coding Cat has our domain is registered with
Mhm,
Cloudinary as well. So we actually get the actually everyone might get this now. We were in the alpha. So the AVI type format,
mhm.
you can get that as well. So it compresses even further, but it'll add all of that in. And to your point, the next image piece is kind of
Yep.
the sweet part after that.
Yeah, it is. It is really neat. So this is what it ends up being, where we define these overlays. Like all the rest of this is basic stuff. So this is the ID of the image inside of Cloudinary. Then we have height, width, etc. And the overlays piece is the important part. So if we is this
Sorry.
where do I define bottom overlay and top overlay? Oh, this is it's the actual prop or a use state in React. So if we have bottom text, we create the bottom overlay and add it to the array of overlays. If we have, yeah, otherwise we set it to null. Same thing with top text. So we just add those overlay objects to the Cloudinary image component or CLD image component, and then it uses Next.js image under the hood. So to your point, like Cloudinary can give you multiple versions based on sizes and stuff. You just define it in the URL. What this is going to do is define a URL specifically for this image at this width and height with these overlays. That's going to be representing an image, and the Next.js is going to go and kind of grab that information and get the different versions of it, like you were saying.
So this CLD image that's coming from Kobe's package? I was
Mhm.
thinking that was a different name. Okay,
Yep. Yep.
cool.
So CLD image. They also have CLD OG image, which will add this to the head
Yeah,
data, which is really cool. And then there's other things. There's like the image upload widget, like other things that you would find in Cloudinary. He's also like using inside of this package. Oh, someone had this question actually, and I forget where this was. Maybe on Twitter or maybe in a previous live stream that I had. And actually, now that you're here, you can kind of touch on it. For context, actually, before we do that, do you want to just tell people a little bit about like what Appwrite is?
Sure, yeah. So Appwrite is a backend as a service. It includes, as you can see right here, authentication, database. We call them cloud functions. So functions, as in like if you write Node.js functions, we actually support a lot of different SDKs under the hood there as well. And so therefore on the front end, we support all of the web SDKs as well as on the back end, several SDKs too. So we also have storage there at the bottom too. So that's very similar to like a AWS S3 storage. Currently, what the default database is that comes under the hood is MariaDB for this too.
Yeah.
So the question I think I saw, which what you're getting to, how do we handle relationships in Appwrite? Currently, it's only document and collection style, even though under the hood it's going to be SQL based. Stay tuned. There's an RFC out there, and the team is actively working towards future relationship items on that.
Cool. I always love getting a little tease in these with guests from companies. So
Yeah.
I imagine what they would look like. And just for context, I've got a collection. I've got a database, then I've got a meme collection, which is kind of like usually like NoSQL world. Like you have collections instead of tables, right?
Yeah, and there's not really that idea of foreign keys and
Hmm.
relationships there unless there's something on top of it.
Yep.
And
So
so you
inside of here, probably, sorry, not that. What you're talking about is under
yeah, so
attributes, is you would have
within
like a
here
relationship one.
Yeah, so if you had, like, for all your memes, you wanted people to comment on them, which that's scary. Maybe don't do that. So if you wanted to connect the 2 together, typically you would see a foreign ID to that comment,
Hmm.
collection in this instance. So if you're in the SQL world, that would be to the table level.
Yep.
And then the cool part is you start to make indexes across those. So for that specific, image or meme, you would actually get all the comments for it. If you set up a nice indexing set up for that, it'll come back even faster. So there's a lot of NoSQL based tools that developers use probably for free for the majority of the time. So Firebase's Firestore, you're going to get into MongoDB world. If you're using AWS Amplify, you've got that side of things. So people are generally used to this document
Hmm.
collection type of feel for things, but with that SQL under the hood.
Does does Simon does
Monolith.
Simon work at Appwrite?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, we do expand a lot very quickly.
Could have changed. Yeah. I can't tell. I'm not saying that you're making this up. The first one almost feels like satire, but I'm not saying it is. It just like feels like it because it's like fun fact, it uses these two completely different things. I just don't know if that's like if you're like actually
Are you talking about my statement or someone?
no, Simon's in the chat on Twitch. So he said, interesting fact,
Okay.
Appwrite follows both monolithic and microservice architecture. Also,
Yeah,
interesting fact
yeah.
number two, Appwrite backend API is written primarily with PHP. I can't
I
confirm
think
that.
technically all of this is very true
Okay,
because,
cool.
in the monolithic sense, so, if someone wants to run Appwrite today, we have a Docker Compose file that spins everything up. So there
Okay.
you're kind of getting into that monolithic type of architecture where everything's kind of provided to you out of one space, that sort of thing. The interesting thing on the microservice side of things, where that functions tab is that you're on, you can also spin up every time you want a function to occur. So
Yeah,
again, just comparing back because most people know it, on Firebase side of things or cloud functions.
I love these.
That's why I always like to say I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
the microservice piece, you can create as many functions as you want, and they act more like microservices at that point. So they have eventing. You can run cron
Mhm.
jobs against them. The cool part on your meme thing, what we've done in the past, instead of directly using a Cloudinary URL to generate those, you can actually use just a open source package. Like I think Sharp's one of them. A couple different image packages in there, and you can create your own on the fly with functions out of it.
Mm.
So we
Yeah,
actually have typically a company that wants to like produce a lot of images and don't want to pay for all the bandwidth and things like that. I love Cloudinary. I'm Cloudinary MD. Like,
yep,
don't kill me over this. But you can stick in one image and it'll create 1,000 different versions of that thing.
yeah,
Stick them in our storage, put them on the database, and then you're good to go on there too.
mm,
So there's a lot of different ways to kind
yeah.
of, you know, what's the skin the same
Skin a cat, which
I
is
never
yeah.
want to say that.
Yeah, it's always an awkward one.
What's the new thing? We're supposed to say something else.
I don't know, something more appropriate.
I grew up in the
Uh,
country, sorry.
yeah. Christoph is saying Appwrite runs with Docker. So right now, and you can correct me. So right now, the way to run Appwrite is like through Docker, kind of yourself specifically. So you can download Docker, you can run it locally. You can also deploy an instance to something like DigitalOcean for a $5 droplet or whatever. What I am using, and I'm cheating here, I'm using the beta cloud version, which is like I haven't run Docker, I haven't installed Docker. All of this stuff that you see is actually running in Appwrite Cloud, which is what I've been waiting on because I like
Yeah.
the ease of use for that is super nice. And I think is it a closed beta still? Is that where we are
Yeah,
right
so
now?
it's even hard for me to keep up with. So we went from a what we were calling private closed beta,
Okay.
and now we are into a public beta, I'll
Okay.
say. There's going to be even like looser restrictions. We're kind of gradually bringing people on so we don't like make sure we don't kind of trip on our own feet and cause chaos. So we're being pretty careful about it, but
Yep.
everything's been running super smooth. So we're onboarding more and more people. So basically full public beta should get you in quickly. I would say would be ready middle of next month for sure. So
Put a
yeah.
link
So
to
there you see that's still the tag of private beta there.
yeah. Okay.
But it's coming. like real quick. And I don't want to like pretend to be like Gmail where we're in beta for 10 years, but it, it is constantly changing, constantly moving. We're adding so much all the time that there's a lot of things that will be beta in it. The system itself, though, what we're basically saying to people right now, why we have that private beta and beta tag is, check it out, do some small projects, maybe don't like put $1 million company on it right at the moment on the cloud version.
Mhm.
On the hosted version, do whatever
Good
you
to
want
go.
because
Yeah.
it's solid.
Cool. Maybe I should slow down then because my meme generator is definitely $1 million
Yeah, I
idea.
mean,
So I
for
should.
you, we should no, it's fine. We're good.
Cool. So what I did in here just before this is again create a database, create a collection called meme collection. Inside of here, it only has one property, and it's a image URL, and that's basically going to be like the Cloudinary URL that we generate that includes the overlay information. This will be a long URL. Any and this is audience too can participate because I'm kind of figuring out what I'm actually building. Any other like essential information? Ideally, I want to have this tied to a user, so that'll be something, but we're not quite to authentication yet. Any other like properties right offhand that make sense to store along with this image URL?
So what do you have there? Do you want to track any of like the actual meme text so they could change it later?
That's interesting.
Like, oh, I don't like that. I want to redo. I don't know. Are you storing like the meme and the image location long term?
Right now, I'm just storing, and this is not even real data. This was just me throwing in a URL to see if I could get it.
Sure.
But my plan is so far is just storing the Cloudinary URL. So if we look inside of this, I can't remember if I still have my logging or not. Let me add this log really quickly so people can see what this is like. So this has a callback function for handle on loading complete, and then I can log out the image dot source, I believe. So as I updated, this should now show me this URL. So this URL, if I put it directly into the browser, will show me that exact image. So it already has the information about the overlays inside of it.
Do you have the text in that URL?
The text is in the URL. Yep. So if you go, it's a lot of stuff in here. So that's kind of how these get complicated, but it's in here somewhere. So here's the updated part, and then loading and blah, blah, blah. So yes, all of everything about this image is in that URL that I was planning on storing.
I was just reading that there are many ways to skin a front end. Totally missed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that was a good one. I liked it.
Write that down.
Yes. Christoph says Cloudinary is amazing to have different sizes of images to adapt to our projects and viewport sizes. Yeah, again, this is also a combination of stuff. So Cloudinary can absolutely do that. Also, it's using Next.js Image to generate some of the different versions of the image underneath the hood as well. So
let me see if I can find. There's a great article that they have out. It's from a few years back, actually.
From about Next.js Image?
No, sorry, just Cloudinary and the difference on their responsive. Here it is.
Okay.
Let me shoot this over to you. You might want to share this. I got.
Are you sending in
too many browser windows? Too many tabs. Holy smokes!
Christoph, great combo. Yes, agreed. Did you send it over here? Yeah. With sort set sizes.
But really, it really gets into the nitty gritty of like why the difference between source set sizes and then some of the optimizations Cloudinary gets into. That's kind of getting aged, so hopefully they've updated a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I should go and read that, to be honest. Also, there's one bug in here I need to fix that I haven't figured out how yet, but I won't tell people what it is.
Easter egg.
I know, yeah.
James Q quick giveaway.
Yeah. I need to do better about giveaways because anytime someone offers me something, I'm like, oh, let's do a giveaway for the community. And then it actually takes like a little bit of work to actually coordinate that. And sometimes I forget I need to do a better job. But if people are interested in giveaways and are not in the Learn, Build, Teach Discord, that's where we will do them. So it's in learnbuildteach.com if people are interested.
I really need to do some more giveaways. I've been so focused on the rewrite. It's taken all my attention.
Yeah.
You guys like our hats? Where are they?
I do.
The code.
Wait. Oh, wait. Oh, that hat. I do like that.
I should send you one of these. We've got them in pink now. They're great.
I like it. Yeah, those are also like my favorite kind of hats too. The like mesh on the around the side and back, and then the front part.
I
Yeah.
really wanted to love this style because it's always cold up here. But man, does it get hot.
I like those. I love the way they look on some people. I just don't think flat bill fitted hats look good on me, and it makes me sad. I would like to wear them more.
I really dig. So I paid a little more, but those have a leather patch and they're actually laser engraved. I love them.
They look nice. Yeah. Cool.
Using AI. Yeah. Agree.
So why don't we just plan on doing the image source thing, and then we can add a button to save. So let's see. This will look ugly, but if we just add another button in here and call a function called handle save and say save, and let's go and create that function. This is not the best organized code either, so don't judge me, everyone. Handle save I have a util folder where I have added the just the initial setup for Appwrite. So inside, to work with Appwrite, I just have the project ID is the only thing that I need in here, or it also has. I don't want to pull up my environment variable. I think there's the API key is in there as well in the environment file. It just doesn't. I don't have to reference it specifically. I imagine the package just picks it up automatically. Is that right?
No, there should be an initialization on the client. So technically, if you're using the client side version, which I think you are, all of that stuff can kind of be exposed because it's all
right. Because it'll be
what's the word I'm looking
based
for?
on authentication and authorization to prevent. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So what's the word I'm looking for? Trust, zero trust. There we go. So it's zero trust out of the gate at first, and then you kind of open things up. So what do you have here? Cloud, and then so
it has the endpoint and then the project ID.
That is your initializer right there. Yep. Sorry, I missed that before.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. And I remember when I first learned why you were able to do that, because when I first learned that API keys were secret and don't let them be anywhere, then I was confused when I was like, Firebase is like, yeah, just give it your public thing and you're good to go. I'm like, how does this work? But it's because you add these authorization rules around how do you actually access the database.
Yeah. So everything comes out kind of zero trust, and then we're going to include permission levels as we go and what we want to include. So we'll talk about that when we add your database. Just one other quick thing. If you go back, so where we're initializing databases on line 13 there as well, the thing to keep in mind, we try to keep these SDKs as light as possible. At the end of the day, they're really just a API request. There's some like niceties that are happening there with like the Appwrite header and things like that, but we can take a look at the network call when we kind of send that through. The SDK is really allowing, like when you have a user logged in, it's doing some like magic things. Magic is just looking up like cookies and things like that I like magic. So you don't have to like track all of that stuff yourself to allow for that. So really it's just taking that client and passing it to the database so it knows what endpoint to call on project and things like that. So
nice.
The only reason I like really wanted to dig into that, we were doing kind of the size of SDKs. Firebase just released their Firestore Lite, if you didn't see that. Okay. And it's still so massive. It's like, oh my gosh, how many K are we loading? So I always like to chat about that one a little bit. I think we're only, for database and the client, it's like 13K, somewhere around there.
Yep. Love it. Question from Nova. Are we checking out auth and other features or just DB for the stream? My goal is to get to auth. So I want to show that we can save this thing, then show that we can like list the things, and then hopefully we can incorporate auth into it.
Yeah, maybe I should quit talking. We'll just do it.
You're good. So I think this should get a automatic import for databases. And from there, I forget, I had an example inside of some component. It wasn't layout, was it? So at the top of this one,
Are
I
you
forget
just
where I
looking
wrote it,
for
but
the save side to this?
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, if you just do,
Oh yeah, you can walk me through it.
yep. Why is that not coming up? That's interesting.
Oh, it
Do you
didn't
have,
actually do the import.
that's what I was wondering. Do we have the,
Cases.
did you export that out of the client, or are you doing like the function calls within your,
I did. So it should have exported both client and databases.
yeah. Okay, cool.
So I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why VS Code didn't pick that up initially.
Cool. Yep. So right there, if so, we're on save. So create document is going to be the one.
And the
So
collection ID. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, a couple things we're going to have to go track down. So database ID is going to be your first one. If you want to go back into the console, we can go grab that. So two ways you can do this, James. If you want kind of like a dev and production version, we can set up some more environment variables. Otherwise, if you just go direct to databases one, yep, right there, and then copy that. We
And
can
I can.
either do that.
I'll go back and add this to
Okay,
environment variables later,
perfect.
I think. So I'll just throw this in for
Yep.
now.
And then, sorry, so you're going to do
Oh,
the document or the database, and then you're going to do the collection ID next. So if you go
okay.
in the console and dive down one
Makes
layer
sense.
further.
Collection ID here. I think that copied the right thing. Cool.
Cool. Yeah, and so for our document, because we're creating a new one, we actually have to tell it either a document ID that we want it to track or just dynamically create it. So we have a helper in the Appwrite package called ID. I don't know if you want to import that manually or it's going to be uppercase. Yeah, you got it right there.
Make sure that actually. It's giving me this IntelliSense, but it's not actually
That is so
doing my imports. I don't
interesting.
know what's wrong with VS Code right now.
Is it maybe below that
App,
somewhere?
right?
That's
I don't
really
know.
weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's really
Going
weird.
though.
Huh, okay. So ID.unique, and then it's a function. Yep, you got it.
Sweet. And then is it data after that?
Yep. So it's gonna just be a object of stuff. In this case, image URL.
And the one thing I'm not doing yet is saving that in the state. So let's say image URL, so image URL state, and to start out empty, which is fine. And now I need to figure out.
I think that state's probably gonna gripe at you. You might want like an empty string in there, but
Can I not do?
I'm still not a React expert, so
Yeah,
but I think at some point you're gonna probably require to have a string or null, like some
we
sort of.
definitely do. Should be able to do that until that it will either be a string or null. And then I think what I want is when the image is uploaded, we're gonna take the we're gonna set image URL and we're gonna set that to the image source. So this actually, when it finishes loading the new image in Cloudinary, it's going to actually send you back the image element, and then we can grab the source property from there and set it to the image URL, and then make sure, like, if there's not an image URL, it's return. Otherwise, we'll go and create. This is probably async, I would imagine.
Yep, you got it.
Mark that.
On that image source, is that something you made? Because if it's coming from Cloudinary, I think there's one called like secure URL too. You just might want to double check at some point.
This should be right. So this
Okay.
is the one that we looked at. It's the same one that we logged earlier. So it's this thing.
Perfect.
And the reason is because this is the actual like image tag that it basically generated
Gotcha.
for. So the source of that is the thing that we want.
Makes sense. Cool.
Yeah. Simon is asking, we do need an anonymous session in Appwrite to add to the database.
Yeah, so we're gonna
yeah,
chat about that here in a minute, because I think we need to take a look at what database James has set up. So
yep. Try it and see, and then we'll go from there.
yeah, we could.
Cool. I also am not doing, let's see, try catch. Just be able to log out if something goes wrong. Basic stuff here. And I thought I loved JavaScript. Now I'm not sure.
I hope the face is okay.
Whatever.
That's good.
Yeah. Whatever. That's good enough. So then we can just see. So we also mentioned we could look at the network tab too. So if we click save, it looks like it's 401, which would be unauthorized.
Yeah, and it should have in the payload or the preview tab there.
Yeah.
The current user is not authorized to perform, the type, all that fun stuff.
Sweet. Cool.
So great questions in the chat so far with the anonymous session. So there's a couple ways to look at this. When James is at the database layer right now, so you can have multiple collections. We actually want each collection to have its own unique set of permissions. So if you click on meme collection, yep. If we go to the settings of this, that's where we're going to find a lot of the authentication for the collection setup. And currently James has this set to read. So that could be correct depending on what application you want. So just to kind of get back to the basis real quick, James, if you just X out of that once, let's add this all anew. Just complete
like that.
this. Cool. This is the screen you would actually start with. And if you scroll a little further down, there's also this update document security. So that's the document level security of things. So depending on if you want other people to be able to read the image database, or if you just want that individual user, that's kind of the decisions you have to start to make now as far as like, how secure do we make this? I think the idea, and I could be wrong, James, is the user is only going to see this, or are you going to have like also a page where like everyone could see something?
Yeah, I want to have, so similar, this is the problem from earlier where I want everyone in theory to be able to like create an account and upload an image. What I then want to have is an intermediary step for me to like approve or not the image, so people don't like shit post too bad.
Yep.
And then lastly, I do want there to be like a view all the JQQ memes page that lists them all.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one, but I think we can do it. So the permissions on that side, I think what you're gonna want to start out with. So I would leave the any off at this point, because we don't have really a way to say only these images kind of thing. So we don't have that yet. So go ahead and click add a role. And what we're going to do is say all users at that point. We're just going to allow them to create and read. Now, realistically, that's if we want everyone to be able to see it. So actually, I'm kind of backpedaling a little bit. Let's take the read off.
Well, and for what it's worth, I think the way I envision this is like the query that I will write in code will just say like, if the approved flag is true. So they'll be able to run the query, but they'll only be able to get back the data that is approved as true. Yeah.
And so tricky part about this a little bit is we won't have that piece of authorization inside of the app at that point. So let's say like you do write that query and you do check that box. I could manually still call that API because I now know your exposed project ID and all that fun stuff. Theoretically, I'm saying. Essentially, I could actually see all of your images. The way to actually,
even if it's not like coming from the same, the request is not coming from the same domain.
Yeah,
the application domain.
Because yes and no. So there is a spot up up in the total project where we can block domains at the very highest level. But realistically, you're probably not going to set that up. Most people won't right away for like testing their app. I think what you'd all ultimately want to do here is just set create for users.
Okay.
And then in the document security, we're going to turn that on.
Okay. So go ahead and update this part.
Yep, update that, and then click document security, and we'll update that. So at this point, I can't remember who Code with Simon I think mentioned, do I need an anonymous session? So at this point, we need to start to think about login, because being able to at least create one of these images, we now need to be logged into.
Yeah.
So.
And maybe just really quickly to just show how this would work, I could check create for any. I could go back to the application. If I click save now, that should work. So that should be in our document. So here's that one that we just did. Just to show people really quickly.
Yep.
And then now we'll get rid of that. Go back to all users should be able to create an update. And now if I try to do the same thing, we should get that same 4-1 up here.
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
So yeah, essentially what James was just talking about, like you have to be a user within this project to be able to update stuff now. So the cool part about that document level security is we can add anything we want to it. So you could even do where you create a team of people and say, this team is allowed to do X, Y, and Z to view these images. So you could start to like bucket people into teams and stuff like that. So
I like it.
Just kind of depends on how granular and where you want to head with things. The cool part on your side, James, is you could actually either come into Appwrite manually and go to that. So like open up one of those documents that you just uploaded. If you click on one off of the ID, there you go. You could actually add the permissions here now to say, okay, this image isn't trash. Go ahead and click the add a role. And you can say either any or all users, one of the two. And you can say read at this point. So that would allow everyone to then read it. So that's usually what I end up doing. I try to stay as kind of narrow as possible up front, and then kind of open it from mostly what this would be as administrative side of things.
Okay. Christoph has to leave, but thanks for checking in, Christoph.
Thanks,
so do you have the ability to write the authorization rule that says, like, so this thing is specifically permissions for this document, right?
Yep.
Is what you were just looking at. Do we have the ability to write that rule that says all users can read, but they only get the ones that are marked as approved?
I don't think so.
So in Firebase, that would be like the
query at that point.
Well, like in Firebase, it's like they have the editor thing where you can say so and so equals so and so, blah blah blah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember on Firebase. Can you do that on the data? Yeah, you can do that on the data level too. If there is, I'm not familiar with it. I should probably ask an engineer real quick, but I don't think we have data level security that I know of.
Okay.
Let me go bring up
the document real quick too. Users will be able to access documents for which they've been granted either document or collection permissions. Document security is disabled. Users can access documents only if they have. In that case, maybe you'll have to use Appwrite for the backend and create your own API with custom rules, permissions. You potentially do that.
Yeah, and so one thing I was thinking on your side, like if you're getting these to review and you're like in an admin section, like you set up an admin only like allowed thing, you could actually click that. A cron job, or not cron job, but just a cloud function could trigger off of that because you're in like an admin state. Then theoretically, you could then have that set the document level security for it. So that's why I see a lot done. So you have kind of like this admin view in the back end when you have to do stuff like that, that you can set up to do things.
Okay.
And that's similar on the Firebase side. You'll use the Firebase admin tools to do admin type things like that.
Did you ever get access to the admin page in
I think I did.
Mobile Teach, by the way? Yeah. So this is kind of the idea of what I would want. So for people that haven't seen this, we do like share content in Learn Build Teach Discord, but then I want to make sure before I email that out to a newsletter or something else that those things are appropriate. So then I have checkboxes to keep track of whether or not it's emailable, tweetable, and if I've already tweeted it and emailed it.
Oh, I didn't even notice there was recent shares. Nice.
Simon, it's midnight here in India. Great stream. Thanks for coming, and thanks for sharing your Appwrite fun facts. Those are good.
Yeah, I like it. For the backend, create your own API with custom rules permissions. Yeah. So
custom permission.
And again, that's going to be on user team level.
Okay.
I'm almost positive we don't do data level, but I've been proven wrong so many times at Appwrite already.
User select. Yeah, interesting. That would be a good one to write permissions.
I'm going to write that one down as we're talking and make sure I get back with you at least on this if I can answer it right now. So
just kind of looking through. I think this is the permission. Oh, interesting. So that's like defining permissions while you. There's a lot of stuff to dive into there.
My only guess, and this is again just an assumption that I'm putting out there, is because we support so many different databases, that's going to get down there a ways into the database level, and we're kind of one layer above that right now. So I don't think that's going to work.
Okay. So if we wanted to just assume people are good people, then we can say we could just enable the read in this case for
exactly
users, right?
And then only people that are logged in will get access. Now, this goes back to what Simon had said. Can I make them anonymous? You could make everyone anonymous and upgrade them later. If you just wanted anyone to read it.
And we could, so on top of this, we could add an any, and then we could say anyone can read. So people in theory could come without even being logged in.
Right. And so those rules are going to kind of trump each other. That any will be able to read all the time. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. So at this point,
I think that's probably a good place to start before, because I'm not even like sending it out for people to use right now. So
yeah. And so at this point, people can create a meme, and then when they hit the document security, we can actually update that to the current logged in user. Could also then have update and delete capabilities at the document that they've created.
And that would happen automatically.
So I'll show you how to do that once we kind of get in there. Yeah.
Cool. So what's the next step
I would say login form at this point.
Cool. Do you have a recommended like type of auth to use? Like
I usually recommend email
to
get started, just because if you're following along and you are not on the cloud version, there's some SMTP stuff you would have to set up, whereas email is just right out of the gate. So
email, password, magic URL.
We're all good. All those are on. And as you can see below, James' last career last job,
career, many moons ago,
has a lot of OAuth 2 options down here as well.
And I'd probably be good longer term to do, because I want to like give people the ability to share to well, I was gonna say Twitter, but now I don't see Twitter. And is that because of API changes?
So Twitter actually doesn't support, or at least they didn't. They might now, but they didn't support OAuth 2. They had OAuth out of the base. So the hack around for that is to do something like a Auth0 provider. And then you can set it all up through there. There's been a lot of discussion around that, and we're hoping actually Twitter comes to our side and gets on OAuth 2. But
I remember finding that out for the first time at Auth0, because I just assumed, because we like had Twitter integration, and then they were like, yeah, technically they don't actually do that. I was like, what?
I hope they kind of revamp a little.
Toxic just joined us on Twitch. What's up? So
I thought you were about to call Twitter toxic. I was like, whoa.
Oh no,
here we go.
I wouldn't go that far. Max on YouTube, what's up? Is there good? What's the best? I guess just the docs is like, if we want to show people a.
Max said he just built this. Let's just copy his.
Building the same thing. What is
Yeah.
it? Send a link to it. But my version is static. Max, tell me as much as you can about it. Tell us all the details.
I mean, technically yours is static, right?
After you can dynamically generate it, and then it's like statically viewed after, I guess, like whatever, however you want to define that.
Okay. Yeah. So what I would do, you're probably gonna want a component for login to get started, like input fields and all that. If you don't want to go to that trouble, I'm sure we have an example for you.
If you do, yeah, that'd be good.
So
But I'll
without me
do
sending it to you, if you just go to our GitHub Appwrite organization in the repos, you can search for demos.
right
There's going to be demos for React.
under repositories.
Yep. And there's also a demo to do for Next.js.
Okay.
So either one of those should get us a login form pretty easy.
Example auth. Source components
So
login.
actually, here, I'll ping you this one. Oh, I almost sent that to everyone in our Discord. There you go.
Please do.
So that one I just sent you is a login component specifically on Next.js with, I believe, TypeScript, or not TypeScript, Tailwind in it.
Okay.
So that might work.
I'm just gonna throw this one in here.
I don't know how much stuff we'll have to peel out of it, but
yeah, we'll see. Okay, so next link, use state. Form event is probably for typing.
yep.
Alert, we don't have an alert, so we'll comment that out for now. Does it actually needs to use the router?
I think it's probably going to send you back to like a different screen afterwards.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I looked at this one.
Yeah, we don't have recoil.
Let's see. Router.
Max says paste the link. Yeah, the link didn't show up, Max. I'm not sure why. Share it in Discord, we'll share it in Discord, and then just like whatever details. How did you build it? Like, what did you use to build it? Share that in here too.
Yeah, we're not going to use recoil, so we can instead just do a use state probably.
Use state for that.
I don't even know how much of that we're going to need because you're probably not going to track, at least at this point, you won't track the user all over the place. So we'll see. We can get to that.
Even if we did track the user all over the place, would the Appwrite SDK not like give us access to the user?
It will. You would just have to make sure wherever you're trying to get to it, you would actually call whatever you need at that point. So if it's like the account information to get the user ID, you might want to have that call. So the difference here is that as you scroll down on line 21-ish there, where it has account.create email session, this is just going to create the session required for you to log in. And what I mean by that is when it logs you in, it'll pass back, here's the user ID that logged in. If you want other details about like James Q Quick and all of his stuff in your project, you would then call account.get to be able to get all of that information.
Okay.
So there's two kind of things happening there between a session and an account.
Okay. So we'll come back to an alert. This is Tailwind. We have a sign up, which is a link to a sign up page.
Yeah, that's probably over there as well.
Login email, require true, set email.
I think Brandon updated this. Wow, it's been a
minute. Submit, disabled if there's no email or no password. And then it calls.
So I think the way Brandon has these listed out, at least in this is an entire page. So you could switch this to a login page.
So I'll go like into login CSX.
Yeah, and then copy and paste what you just were editing there in that login component, or that.
Yeah, or
that totally fine too.
Just give it the. Yeah, what? I feel like VS Code is not liking me right now. And it's not getting any. I don't know why it's not getting any.
That's interesting. I just went through and changed out a lot of my extensions. They were messing each other up. Do you do @/? So is it
I go,
@ and then combo?
is it? Yeah, I couldn't. I didn't
There you
actually
go.
know.
You got it.
Yeah, is there anything on here still? That's okay. Not log. The function name is login.
I think you're all good.
Yeah,
For the
that
most
should be
part.
good.
And then we have, I just sent you another link with the sign up if we want that. It's almost identical, but instead of getting a session, you're creating a new one. Creating a user actually too.
Cool. So let's go and create another page. Sign up. TSX. And then let's do components, sign up. Paste this in. Don't have alert. No alert. No recoil. Use state. Alert. We'll need that at some point. So that, and then bring that into here. Even though it's not. It's annoying because I usually one of my favorite features in VS Code is hey, it works.
What was that crazy noise?
Someone changed the theme. Actually, did it change the theme?
Wait, is this a StreamYard thing?
No, it's a. It's funny. Toxic was on this like the last time we did it. Try that again, Toxic. Or actually, it's on. I can kill it and start it again. Toxic. Try that again now, and see if that works. So it's just a Twitch command that I like. Don't use it often, but have it running for people to change the VS Code theme if they want.
Nice. That would be totally wild to do.
There we go. Yeah.
That's sweet.
So I was also thinking about like giving people the ability to like control the like scroll size or like zoom in size and stuff like that. There's lots of like really cool stuff you could do. So where? Oh, I don't even have my local host up anymore. So let's go to login just to see if that works. Can't resolve Appwrite and user state.
Yeah, so again, this is going to be one of those things where we want to track state, where we probably don't have to a lot for what we're doing. I would actually, let's focus on the sign up first so we can actually like create a user
Okay.
and then we'll dive in there.
So let's get rid of that.
So basically what's happening in that store, so you know the file that you currently have with all the Appwrite and utilities, so your Appwrite utilities.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to pass back a new one for account as well. So if you want to add it right under databases there. It's funny, I do this the other way. I do exports on each line instead of the mix.
Yeah.
It's so funny to see the different preferences all the time. And then you'll have to import account at the top since VS Code is.
Sucks.
It's almost like your TS config is like.
I know. Yeah. Something's not right.
Do you want to try doing just a window reload? Maybe see if
the window reload on VS Code.
Yeah.
Like just kill it and open it again.
Well, no, just hit Command P and then or Command Shift P, whatever it is. Yeah, developer reload window. This second one. Let's just try that. Let's see.
Code installation.
Interesting. Yeah, you got a few things going on. You may want to kill VS Code once.
I bet you part of that is actually, let me hide this really quickly. I bet you part of that is when I go into my settings file, I bet where it updated that property for theme.
Oh.
It looks fine. Please reinstall. Wow. I really. I really botched something here. We'll see. Whatever. Okay, so we want to import account here is what we're saying. And this will come from, see if I can get it now. Got it.
Sweet.
Good. And I don't have a type for user. Does it use that type somewhere?
You won't need that. I think that was probably an older version that required it. Let's see.
And no alerting.
My guess is when we get done with the sign up, you'll push back to the home page so we can take that out.
Please remove the anchor tag.
Yeah.
This is an outdated version of.
Yeah.
So does it just work?
So yeah, exactly.
You just use it all on link.
Yeah, and you got it.
And actually, this is
looks okay too. Not too bad.
That one. Yeah, just dark text.
Yeah, a little dark. We'll have to switch some things out.
You could just put the.
I would almost take all the text dash out of that whole thing, or yeah, whatever you feel like. I'm not trying to write your app for you.
We'll get there. What are all the texts? Like 6XL. Probably leave the sizing.
Size is all fine. Text 6XL is fine. It's the text dash gray that you're running into weird stuff. So you probably want to update a lot of that. I really personally, I love using Daisy UI. Some people like it, some people don't.
That's not actually the one I meant. Why is it doing? I'm curious why why is the H1 in dark?
Can you jump back over there?
Because it didn't have any color thing.
I think the div above that has BG gray. Nope, that's BG. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it's getting that color from. And it doesn't have like a computed. I guess, is that just the default?
We don't have anything in the top? No.
Will text white not like propagate down to all the things inside of it too?
It will if there's nothing overriding, but something at the H1 level. Is there anything in your global.css? Or is it just
no, it should just be tailwind. Not sure where that's coming from. But just
yeah, that's interesting.
All right, that is.
You could put that on the section level, I think, and it'll take care of all that stuff.
Yep. Okay.
That is interesting. It's always fun tracking those down, like what above there is causing this.
I know. Tailwind.config could be, although I'm almost positive there's not anything config. Yeah, nothing there. So I'm not sure, but at least we can see this. So basic sign up, this will navigate to login, which is probably broken because we need to do the same updates there, which is fine. Can I not go back to sign up? There we go.
Where is the back button in this crazy browser?
I guess here. So you can minimize the sidebar. But I was expecting to use command and then arrow keys, which does work. And I'm not sure why it didn't work a second ago.
I wonder if when it's minimized, it doesn't. I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyways, so let's double check. Are we importing the Appwrite account correctly? And all
we have account here.
Okay.
And so this is going to, it's going to create a unique account. And this is not doing, oh gosh, it's not good. It's not a good look.
Red. Oh. So what's the rules on
in Discord loves this one.
Do you have to do that?
I could override it if I wanted to. But typically, like, I feel like this is a win for the audience, so I'll leave it for a minute or two. I know if somebody else wants to fix it, you can run the command in Twitch. There's
What we
I have
mean is
timeouts.
please run.
Yeah. Let's see. Why did that not work? Max.
So what do we have? We have account dot. Wow, now they're changing my lights. It's getting scary.
Oh.
So we have account dot create. So that's all good. Await account dot create email session. I did not think you needed to do the create first, but maybe that's true. I'm trying to remember our SDK updated recently.
Brandon Roberts just helped us out, by the way. What's up, Brandon?
Brandon wrote this. You should thank him.
Yeah. Thank you, Brandon.
Brandon, we just stole your sign up and login. Brandon.
So we create the account, which makes sense. I think like the account has to be there before we actually generate the session. So we create the account. It's going to generate a unique ID for us, and we pass in email, password, and name. We then use some sort of state thing to track the logged in user. So what gets returned from this returns
that
a session.
Yeah, it's going to have a session. It's also going to set a cookie and I think a local database thing that's a backup for the cookie sort of. So long story short, it's going to set a cookie.
Okay.
And at that point, when you move to, instead of to-dos, just put / in there, because I think all your stuff's at the index.
Oh yeah.
And it'll forward us back to that page. And then realistically, the user should be out there. Now, what I was kind of talking about at that point before, both for login and sign up, we don't really have anything in Next.js that's going to keep that current user. If you're using the app setup instead of the pages setup, where it's static, you could load that up to grab it. But I think on yours, what you're going to have to do in that index page somewhere is go refetch that account for the user.
Agreed. So, and probably more what we want is some sort of like use state hook, like the same way it was using use state with recoil. We'd want to track that ourselves. Yeah.
Got
a type here. Do we have a type? So the create email session returns models.session. Can I say that this is of type models dot session?
Yep.
Also, just to see what this looks like, because I haven't yet, I'm going to say session equals and then log session and then set user to, actually, it doesn't even help us to set the user right now because we're going to navigate anyway. So we need to get that bigger state thing.
You may want to log out that account.create return too, just to show people the difference on what's coming back.
Okay. So new account. And then what is it under create? This returns a.
It really doesn't matter. You can just do console.log.
Yeah.
You shouldn't need any typing there. You got it. Cool. Yeah, this should get you somewhere, or it won't, and we'll fix it.
As a developer, it should get you somewhere, or it won't, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get there. It's all part of the program. Oh, it forwarded. So it went forward. That's good.
Navigated. Cool. Fav icon. No worries. And then these are the two things. So the first one is the full account.
That is the full account. Yep.
Okay.
So notice there's prefs on that thing. So that's like user preferences and stuff.
Okay.
Now on this session ID, go ahead and open that next one. Sorry, on the next object. Yeah. This threw me off for the longest time, folks. If you think that session.$ID is still the user ID, go ahead and compare those two right now, James.
Well, I'm assuming because I can look down here.
Yeah, exactly. Totally missed that for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like,
so this would be
not working.
The ID of the logged in session versus the actual ID of the user saved in the database.
Yes.
Yeah.
So totally messed me up for a long time. Sorry for exposing your IP address there. My bad.
No worries. Is that actually bad? Like wouldn't?
Yes, in a way, yes, but
I don't really know, honestly, what people could do with that.
I won't talk about it on air.
Okay,
I could give you a guy's name though.
I could give you a guy.
He works for us. It's scary.
Oh, cool. So I'm just trying out Max's thing, and it downloads the image. Sweet.
I like the browser's little download.
It's got lots
action.
of. It's a very polished looking UI for a browser. Absolutely. And I'm curious, is this just like how? So this is just adding elements on top of an image, and then I'm wondering how you download that. Max, what package or something are you using to download it? Like, there's got to be some HTML to image download thing.
It's a college project.
Browser.
Nice.
Yeah, this is perfect. That's cool.
Oh, Arc's only for Mac? Is that what I'm understanding?
I guess so. I didn't know that. HTML to canvas and then append an A tag and download. Cool.
Oh, we may have sent a challenge out. That's scary. Never mind.
Does that mean? I feel like very naive about this.
We'll talk after.
Should I do something in the meantime to protect myself?
No, but maybe reset your router after we get out. Pull a new one.
Okay, good to know. Cool. So that works. Now we'll need to do similar stuff with login. So we don't have the user.
Yeah, and so right now too, the other thing that we can check, which is cool, and this is something that the SDK takes care of for us. If you were to go into your debugger or developer tools in Arc, you can actually see where we set that cookie to. So once you polish this up, I don't even think you're going to need state in here. Yeah. You just do any.
Is there an error type?
No, not the way it's supposed to work. So we actually have an Appwrite error that you can pass as a type that does it.
Exception?
Yep.
I pulled that in. It did.
And it's because we run into that all the time.
Catch clause variable type annotation must be any or unknown.
Yeah, so usually what I end up doing is do error unknown and then type it as Appwrite exception. That's the problem.
Unknown as?
I think you can actually just do as Appwrite exception on after. Sorry, I'm talking in circles. Do error any or unknown, either one. And then you can make a const inside as Appwrite exception.
So a new variable?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Appwrite error equals.
Yeah, without the equals. Yeah, you got it. You got
it. Exception. Appwrite exception dot message.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of those frustrating things.
Oh, as unknown. Can you do that as unknown as?
I think he's saying underneath.
Like where we had it?
23.
So he's just saying like what we have basically.
Yeah, so like under there you could put as unknown as Appwrite, or even where you have any you could put unknown. It's okay. I mean, it's all just it's fine. Cool. Really.
It's fine. Sweet. So
push back to / for the router.
Yep.
And then I think you're sitting pretty good. And the reason that we don't really need to pass around state at this point is we have in our cookies, and if you want to bring that up, we have who you are at this point because of that session establishment.
So under cookies, will it show me in?
Yeah, it should. You could also see it in local storage or session storage. I can't remember which one of those we use. So that's the cookie fallback right there. That second line, that's ours.
Oh, okay. If it's not in, and if it's an auth thing, wouldn't I not be, if it was HTTP only, I wouldn't be able to see it in here anyway, would I? Or I just wouldn't be able to see it in JavaScript.
Right, exactly. You wouldn't be able to see it in JavaScript.
Okay.
Yeah, you should. There's usually like a toggle flag for the cookies where you can see it, but I don't know where that is. So
Yeah, you just can't access in code. That makes sense.
yeah.
Um,
If you go to the cool part about this, if you go, it's gonna get into IPs again, but if you go into your Appwrite console and look at the James Q Quick user we just created, we can check out some things on Appwrite.
so here's my one complaint about Arc is you can only tab through the most recent 5 tabs, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh
Like
yeah,
as I
that's weird.
do
I don't
control
like that.
tab, yeah, it's like a really big annoying feature which doesn't make any sense. So
Yeah, I don't like that one.
um
um,
also
so
Max,
yeah,
sorry, had
sorry.
a good suggestion in code, which is absolutely what I would do. So like in the catch, you could say if error is of type or is an instance of Appwrite exception, handle it this way, otherwise
Yeah.
generic message. Absolutely.
And it'll only throw that on the TypeScript side, just FYI.
Throw
Because
which part?
it won't care about the typing in JavaScript once it
Mhm.
compiles. So,
Yep.
or transpiles.
Mhm.
Fancy word.
So here's
So,
the
that's
the
the
user.
user that James just created. If you click on that user, there's some more things that you can look at. So if we scroll down all the way to, so yeah, we can store phone and basic things. It also allows these user preferences.
Cool.
So a lot of times we do things with that, such as, oh gosh, I don't know. This is typically an admin only type of feature. So that's not true. There's other ways to update it, but long story short, you can do a lot of things against this user object that you would normally do into a database. So it
Mhm.
takes you like one layer less that you have to deal with for
Yeah.
those type of things.
And
And then up at
this
the
sort of thing existed with all zero users too, but our messaging there at least was like this is not for everything. It's like a
right.
couple, I guess basically a small subset of data. So is there a limitation of this that you talk about, or do you just like
Ugh,
whatever you want you
I
can
don't know
throw
if
in
there
there?
is a limit,
Okay.
per se, but 100% true on that because basically every time a session interaction on that account, anytime you're dealing with that account, I should say, not the session, you're gonna have
Mhm.
to pass that data around. So you don't want a ton of stuff on there, right?
Okay.
You want some basic
Yep.
things like you
Yeah,
don't want your
true.
full like mailing address and
Right.
everything else to come through every time. So
Yep. Cool.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Um,
Here's the new code thing. By the way, all right, I'm gonna override this toxic, so I apologize. I can come back to it if you want me to, but I haven't really shared this, but I have my own color theme now. Amy put
okay,
this together with like my new brand colors and stuff. So this is actually the James Hugh Quick theme if anybody is curious.
I really like that. So yeah, memberships is kind of another big key.
This
So
session.
there's your session we just
Yeah.
looked at. So you
Activity
saw
pool.
the two things we just did in that activity there. We created the user and
Mhm.
then we logged in. And yeah, the memberships is cool because this will tell you what teams there are. And if we had different levels within those collections for the different teams set up and you were a member of those teams, it would show it here. So it's
Okay.
all nice one spot.
Yeah. Cool. The other thing that I could so eventually we'll turn this into um like a shared state thing to track the user. But if I do an account dot get and I just log that out, can I do this in here this way?
Yep, should work.
Like just to show that I'm logged in. Uh can I do it like that?
You shouldn't even have to put the await because I think it's gonna just
Oh, is
come
it just
back.
pulling from
Does it show promise?
local
I don't
storage?
remember.
Well, I can check. So this returns a promise.
I don't know if the console though, I think it'll unwrap it. You know what I'm saying? Chrome's really good about taking promises and unwrapping them, so I don't know if Arc
What do you
will.
mean?
So a lot of times in Chrome, if you have a promise that's going through and you console log it without the await, it'll actually take and put that promise out to the console log after it completes. I don't know if Arc does the same.
Really?
Yeah, it depends on what type of like promise setup you have.
Hmm. I did not know that. So if I go back to here, this is promise pending.
Yeah. See, this is Not going to, of course,
Yeah.
prove me wrong.
And then fulfilled.
So the
Gotta go to
interesting
sleep.
thing on
CMAX.
this is you're doing a server side and then not rendering. So I don't know. That's what I said. It's hit and miss.
Yeah. Also, I forget, like, can you do this top level wait inside of the component? Or is it just because default async?
You should be able to do it the way you
Oh,
had it now too, with console log at this point.
then account, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like some of my the things I'm used to recently has not worked out well. Oh yeah, you've got a good point.
Use effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta be only client side.
Gosh,
I don't know if you want to put any of this in this area anyway. So
probably not. Just I just
uh,
want to show that it's like being tracked.
theoretically, though, James, this might not be terrible. So if you do a use effect and a use state at this app level and pass it through, you would then have it. So it's not terrible to put it in here.
Count async. Sorry, I'm gonna come back to what you said in a second.
No worries.
I forgot this can't be an async function.
Yeah, if you do the
What a
double,
mess.
you can.
This is why people get annoyed sometimes.
This drives me nuts in React.
Well, and that's like I've been working with Astro so much recently. And if you want to run async stuff, like you just start at the top and it'll handle it, which we found out a mind blowing thing. So React server components, I was talking to Ben Holmes yesterday, streaming with him, and React server components does the streaming thing where it'll like send something, open up the stream, and then if you with suspense, it'll like stream up the updates. We realized that Astro uses streaming. If you enable SSR, it uses streaming also. So you can't control it like to turn it on or off like you can with what's the keyword in React for delay? Suspense.
Yep.
But I didn't realize that Astro used streaming. So we both like figured that out live on stream, ironically, which is fun.
I'd be curious to ask Fred too if that was because of the different framework components, the islands architecture, if they went with that right away. I don't know.
Not sure. What?
Yeah, you have all the things, I think.
Use erect. I almost typed use erect is what he's making fun of, I think.
Bye, Max Programming. It's good having you on.
If you meant to render a collection of children, objects are not a valid.
Oh, it's just what you're logging out.
I can't log it out?
Wait, account I get. I'm guessing there's a deeply like a deep object. I think that's what that's saying. You can go back. Let me see.
Well, it's talking about trying to render something. I'm not trying to render. Objects are not valid as a React child.
Is that your old error before you saved? Maybe refresh that page.
I did a couple of times, I thought. All right, chat, help us out.
Oh, take your async out of the function, out of the my app.
Oh,
Line 6.
Nice, good catch.
I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There we go.
So then here's the proof. So for what I'll need to do is just create some sort of state that loads.
You could be good right now, honestly. Like taking just at a use state right here, and you're good to go. Because then you'll know you can pass that down through this. Do a little prop smashing, whatever.
Yeah, prop drilling. But like it'd be a little cleaner at least to have like a because a use user hook thing.
Yeah, there's
where I'm not
a ton of
not
different
passing
ways
it
to do
down.
this.
Yeah. So I'd probably create a basic like custom hook that would track.
There's actually a cool project that this gentleman is making for Appwrite, which it's been on my list, so I'm really happy to see him doing it. I gotta find my latest. Where is that? In your profile? Where's your GitHub likes at? Profile.
Your GitHub likes that? I don't know.
Oh gosh, where is it? Stars. Here we go.
I just have. I haven't written a not just the hook, but implementing context API. I haven't done this in a while. Basic context API.
Oh, yeah, I haven't either.
See if I can get when to use context. Context. Like I'm literally gonna have to pause and do that later because I haven't done it in so long.
Same. It's been too long. Realistically, though, if you do that, pass that prop through, you're at the point where we can grab the user ID and send it in. Or you can move all of this that you just did with the load account over to your index page, and then we just have it and we're good to go.
And so you're saying to associate it with the image that we save?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, good point. So inside of text, just throw this stuff in there. Use a rect. Just kidding. Not that.
Oh man.
Max started it and he's gone now. So so then you said use state for the user, set user, and this will be a type of, what did we say this thing returns?
So this one I think is actually an account.
An account.
It
So
might be called
models,
preferences.
Count.
Yeah, let's see, it might be preferences.
Did it say it was?
Try dot preferences. There you go.
Well,
So
it says
it's a
it's
type of, so you do models.account and then
account,
it's a type preferences.
and then it is models.preferences.
You got it. It's a fun pain. Sorry.
Yeah, all good. So then we can say set user to logged an account. Cool. And oh, this is also in the wrong page.
Oh, well, you could
God.
either move it again or
I'm gonna move it
you can
again
pass
just
it down.
move it again just because.
No, developers are efficient. What do you mean?
What could possibly go wrong? So then what we're saying is in the handle save, or if not user, then we want to create this thing. So now we need, I'm assuming now we need another property though inside of Appwrite. So for databases, JQQ, memes, the meme collection, we need another attribute for the user ID.
So this is the part that I was saying is a little bit tricky. So basically what we can do in here is say we're just going to give that document level security to ourselves, or to the logged in user, I should say. And at that point, if you're doing a read to our database, it knows who you are. So it'll only give you your documents back. So you don't necessarily have to do it that way. You see what I'm saying? Like typically I wouldn't put a user ID in here. I would just give them the rights to it. But if you want to do sorting later, possibly.
Well, and if I wanted to do something like show for, as we highlight each meme, show the username that generated it, for example.
Yeah.
So we want an association of some sort.
Yeah, and that's the tough architecturally, like where do you want to head with it? But
yeah,
the easiest thing, yes, you can stick a user ID on here.
Okay. User ID, and this will be
string.
Yep. Is there anything? So okay, so just a regular string. This is required.
I think it was 64, but I don't remember. That'll be safe. I think 64.
64. Is that bytes or?
It's a good question, James.
Yeah, that'd be a good.
It's spelled out in our docs. I just can't ever remember it.
Yeah.
And if you ever are in here and you're like, what's the max? What I do is just put a bunch of 9s and then try to save it.
And then it'll tell you.
It'll tell you.
User ID.
The hard part with that one too is, again, as we add more databases, I think that will differ per database. So it's going to be kind of interesting.
I don't know what Jess is laughing at, something behind me. So this is going to come from the user account. So the ID. Oh, this is. Oh, wait. So this is interesting. This is the user ID here.
Yeah. So
So
that's
under session, it's $ID for the ID of the session.
right.
For what do we say this is? Account.
Account.
The ID of the account is the ID of the user.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's the piece that still mentally I always have to tell myself, wrong thing, Alex, right? So
Yep.
the interesting thing, if you're using our SDKs, again, what's going to happen here is that it has your session ID, and therefore it knows by calling account.get, the current user is going to get called and bring back the correct information. If you're using REST APIs, you need to do this manually. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. How do you like my new meme?
I love it. So I Googled.
So
Hey James, do you remember what you were actually doing during this? Like what?
no,
you're
I have no idea. It's
thinking
just
about?
a random freeze frame from a video. Not at all. I don't have any feedback on here. Let's see if this. That looks like it did save. So let's go into Appwrite documents. Here is the new one and the user ID. And then I could, like, if I want to query images by a user, I could create an index.
For that, do you even need an index? Yeah, I guess you would. I think.
User ID.
I'm always really bad when you need indexes.
I'm not the best at this either. Index, end up type key, attribute, user ID.
Yep.
How? I've never done this. What is the order? How does the order factor in here?
As far as ascending or descending, if you had like 12 other users, it'd be whoever. So you could also query and then it would come out with those users. So if you don't put a filter on, you just put like, what's a good example?
Okay.
It's a query without that specific user index. So you wouldn't use equals. You would use like greater than, and then they would come out ascending order. It's not a great example because typically you wouldn't do it for a user ID, but
okay. Mark is asking if you abstract away some of the data types. I don't see string in the MariaDB docs. And then he said it's a string literal in MariaDB.
Yeah, so a lot of things that you'll see kind of in our dashboard, our console here, they are going to be abstractions on top of this. And again, that's because we are working towards allowing multiple databases as you go through here. And we're trying to get it so that it's kind of universally understood things. Like we don't want a varchar when there's not a varchar in, Mongo or something like that. So it's difficult kind of line to cross or bridge to cross. When you go into our docs, there's some more information. I can find the link on each one, but yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I found that React hooks thing, by the way. I'll just shoot it to you in case people are interested.
What?
This is a newer package that was just put in our community. So this is React hooks for Appwrite. It's interesting. Like this is something I've been wanting to do at work. Just we don't have the bandwidth. There's too much other stuff going on. So this has real-time updates for everything built into the hook mechanism. So you'll see that like the providers in there. Firebase has the exact same thing or similar thing to this where they have the same provider hookups. So I'm currently using that in our Next.js coding cat project because I wrote that.
You're using this one or
using the Firebase fire hooks.
So this is, does that mean, does the Appwrite provider track like user?
So when you put that provider in, if you click on go up a little bit, see where it has storage and databases and stuff like that. If you click that account one, for example, it'll show you like how it streams out real time. So like the is loading, you talk about that.
Okay, so it gives you a use account hook.
Yes, exactly. So
this is,
he's building all of those things that we were just like, yeah, it'd be nice to build all of that. He's kind of doing that already.
Yeah.
Should I
go ahead and use this? Or
I
no?
don't know because it's so early. I just saw it. I think he literally posted it a day or two ago, and I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, this is what we've been looking for."
And this is not someone that like works for Appwrite or anything. Like this just
No,
kind of
he's
came
just
out
part of
of
the community.
okay. Well, that's cool, but that is like super early to
Yeah, I mean,
use or not. Yeah.
if this thing gets far enough, I would strongly push for us
Mhm.
internally to be like, "Hey, can we bring this into our
Support this.
repo and
Yeah.
support it?" So,
That would be super helpful. That is, I will say, like auth wise, the two best examples that I've ever seen for Next.js specifically, because it gets a lot more complicated with Next.js, is the Auth 01 and then the next
yeah,
auth. The way they did those to me are like that's the ideal situation because they expose the hooks that you need, they take care of the stuff that you don't need to care about, and it's
couldn't
super
agree
super
more.
powerful. Yeah.
Yep.
I want to wrap up in a second. Do you know right offhand, like if we do any get server side props type things, are we able to access the user on the server?
No. So
Okay.
that was that, before the call, I said, "We might wanna not do SSR, it gets a little complicated."
Yep.
So we do have solutions for it. One being we have a Node-Appwrite SDK that's
Mm,
specifically for server-side events.
for yeah.
I usually tell people that's more like for administrative
Hmm.
purposes, like specifically updating roles and things like that. So that's one solution. The second solution, which is the one I would recommend for people like doing Next.js type things, is you actually pass in the token and you create a jot at that point to do
Hmm.
stuff on the server
Okay.
as that person. So
Cool.
that's kind of the solutions as it is today, which is fairly common.
Yeah. Cool.
There is a
Similar to
good
how
example for
Supabase.
let me send this to you so you can send it out.
Cool.
This is a really good example. He does work for our team. This is from Matei. He's got a Next 13 SSR demo, which has a lot of that detail in it.
Cool. Yeah, that stuff gets complicated quickly
It's
when you're going between server and front end.
yeah, it's hard to talk about, especially for newer devs to really start to the ins and outs and why things need to be more secure then and
Hmm.
all that fun stuff.
So here, I'll give you 1 minute to answer like a question that you probably get a lot if you have something that you want to add. But a comparison between like Supabase and Appwrite, for example. So Supabase is based on Postgres. It gives you access directly to Postgres, which Nibby is calling out.
Yep.
Any specific like highlights that you like with Appwrite versus Supabase?
Yeah, so it's always tough in this kind of comparison world, right? So as far as Supabase goes, awesome if you're into that Postgres world and can execute it from that. Ours is kind of more of a universal solution that we're looking for. So we're going to be able to support different databases. Technically, MongoDB is supported, but it's under some environment variables and things like that. And as we go along, we'll also support Postgres, but it's not going to be in the same way that Supabase does because their entire infrastructure and everything kind of is around that. Great solution if that's something specifically you're looking for. The one thing that I think is better than Supabase, and this is just my opinion, is the install and setup of our self-service style. So that one-click install to DigitalOcean, that Docker Compose file, it's amazing how like composable that can really become and how easily supported that is. So outside of that, there's some cloud function advantages with our SDKs. So I think you and I, James, we do a lot of like TypeScript, JavaScript based stuff. If you were to bring up our Appwrite docs and go through the SDKs, a lot of people really love writing in Flutter too.
Hmm.
And Flutter's Dart, we have a Dart SDK that you can write all your cloud functions
Yeah.
in too. There's several other languages outside of that. So it's all kind of in what you like and enjoy. I'm not gonna say one's better than the other. Obviously, I have some bias, but no, both great products. Yeah,
Yep. And full transparency, I mean, people watch my content. No, I'm a big fan of Supabase, and I think I'm just a fan of like products like this in general because it enables you to do so much more in terms of building applications. And I would say probably like to your last point, like there are a lot of similar products in a lot of different spaces, and it all comes down
Mhm.
to like some of the intricate details of like how it feels and how you think. And so my recommendation would be like go and play with both and just
Yeah.
see what your opinion is.
And just know, like, we are like, it's early phase still for us.
Hmm.
So when we're building things out, like we're on our next iteration, we're calling it the G4 of functions. So that's coming out. We have things in the works where we're not like Vercel, where you can have like your domain and go register at Google or like GoDaddy and bring that domain in. We're actually taking that next step. We're going to become a domain registrar as well. So you can log into us, register, and they're
Oh,
like
cool.
full stack.
Have
Like
domain. Yeah.
you're on your way and going. So that's part of it. What else is coming out? I mean, there's things that have RFCs that are public and not public.
Yep.
So sometimes I put myself in
Hard
a
to know
little
which one.
challenge. But
Yeah.
if you see something basically on Firebase that we're not doing yet, we'll be doing it.
Yeah.
So that's our challenge.
Love that. Cool. All right. I'm in the now constant conflict of both of us working in the same space.
I was
Jess
just gonna
says,
say props to you.
I know.
I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
She says she's going to have to talk in meetings in a second.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and call it. But thanks everyone for joining and asking questions and sharing code snippets. And Alex, thanks for coming on and doing this. I'll be doing more with this like over the next like probably a couple of months because I've got some videos to do with Appwrite. And so this is kind of the fun kickoff for me. And if you're down to come back on and hang out and talk and hack through some stuff, then I'd love to
Anytime.
have you back on. Yeah. And you did say, just confirming, like cloud beta for cloud publicly will be rolling
Mid-April.
out. And
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
so private beta is currently open. Sign up. I can almost guarantee we'll get you in. If not, we'll roll it out quick.
Cool.
Sorry, I was
No, you're
keeping it
good.
short so you could go.
You're good. Yeah, you're good. All right, cool. Thanks everybody. I'll catch you next time.
Thanks. See ya.